Good afternoon, everyone. It's actually a bit colder here than down there, so apologies for the heat. So we have 20 minutes. I know you guys have been talking a lot about smart cities all day. I thought what we could get into, though, is some concrete examples of both from Barcelona as well as from Rio and some other cities where you work, Robert. Josep, I suppose that the key question here is Barcelona is held up as a shining light within the European smart city community, if that exists. But can you give me some examples? How is this changing people's lives? We were talking off stage about the Barcelona in your pocket concept. So can you give the audience a flavor of what that involves?
Okay, I think for us it's important that to understand that smart city or IoT movement is not only a movement, it's a big opportunity to transform our cities, okay? Then we need to engage in this transformation the citizens. And for us, for example, Barcelona in Your Pocket, it's an initiative to put all our effort to put all things and all relation between citizens and city in our pocket. Then our pocket it's in the iPhone. Then for us, the mobile technologies, it's crucial to close the services to our citizens.
Mm. So you have your phone out right now. What is? I mean, give us some examples of if people come into Barcelona later on this year. What can they get? How is it sort of the smart city concept? How do people access that?
For example, with apps in the mobile. You have a lot of applications to relation with the healthcare system, or you have with the administration, or you have all government portal or government system to put here in the mobile. Okay, but for us it's very important to understand in our vision that we need to put the city, not the city council strategy, the city public and private initiatives to put in the same concept and put here in the mobile facilities. Okay.
And Robert, turning to you, it's nice to have you both on the stage because you have very different concepts and uses of the smart city concept. You're based in Rio. You spend a lot of time in places like Nairobi, etc. Give us a flavor, particularly with Rio, with everything coming up there in the coming years.
So I think everyone's heard about the Rio Smart City, or if you haven't, you will, because there's a very excited and enthusiastic mayor who's been promoting the concept, I think, and earned a huge amount of accolades for what he's done. The smart city idea, I think, is relatively new in the South, and by South I mean Africa, Asia, Latin America. I wouldn't necessarily call Rio itself a smart city. Rio is a huge city of 6.1 million people. It's got slums that have about 1.5 million people who live in them, and it's highly spatially segregated in terms of how people are distributed in the city. What the mayor has done, and did very quickly in anticipation of the World Cup and the Confederations Cup, and now in anticipation of the World Cup, the Olympics, which will happen in 2016, is he's created a command center. And the command center effectively brings together more than 30 different line agencies across the metropolitan region into one centralized core. And in the middle of the command center, they have a NASA-like set of screens which project, I think it's Samsung that provides support, that projects all sorts of activities in terms of traffic, in terms of issues around natural disasters, in terms of issues around hygiene and health and water. And the idea is to bring everyone together into one centralized node, and they meet routinely, and the mayor can interact with them to anticipate where there might be a crisis. And that's I think, the showy bit. That's the showy bit of smart. And I should emphasize, though, that within the city of Rio, that the security component, which I think is a very important part of the smart city concept, is absent within that particular command center of the mayor. The security is dealt with another command center, which integrates another 15 different agencies that deal with public security and safety. And these two integrated agencies often interact. One is the command center, one's called the CICC. And this has been going on for a couple of years. I think IBM provided an enormous amount of support to get the thing off the ground. One important point to mention is that it's relatively new. And there's not a lot of good evidence yet, I would say, hard metrics, that this has been necessarily successful in making Rio as a city smarter. I think it certainly improved aspects of anticipating rains and temperature variation, which is a really important issue. It's done some issues around reducing risk in areas where there are floods, and I think it's helped think differently about congestion and transport, which is the number one, I think, challenge in Rio when it comes to city planning. But it's not entirely clear yet that there's substantive evidence yet to show that it's yielded positive returns beyond those three areas.
And Josep was talking about how I, as a Barcelona citizen, can actually interact through my phone. It seems from that concept, it's very top-down. It's there for the government, not initially, now at the moment, not for the citizen.
I think so, and I think the point that was made is right. This is an evolving process, and I think ultimately you want to get citizens more engaged. In the South, we don't have the same level of digital penetration, the same level of mobile telephony, certainly not in the poorer areas of these large cities, where, by the way, 90% of future growth is going to take place. So I think that there's still a challenge with creating that link with the citizen, of getting that information out in real time. What they do is often there's daily broadcasts on radio, so people as they're coming into the city will get the news directly from the mayor. There's also Twitter accounts and Facebook accounts, so people can send in their grievances, and the mayor admits that there are pretty much 24/7 grievances being sent in, so people are making use of those kinds of interfaces. But in terms of ongoing deliberative consultation, I think it's still a work in progress.
And you mentioned metrics, and one thing we were talking off stage was some of the both cost savings as well as the interactions Barcelona has been able to sort of put together in the last 3 or 4 years. Can you give us some examples? If Rio is sort of the beginning of the stage, you guys are maybe in the middle. What kind of metrics can you gather and cost savings can you have?
He say important concepts because for us, for Barcelona, how smart is how smart city or how smart is a smart city? For us, it's not important because of course technology is important, energy is important, but for us the smart city concept is a big opportunity to transform the city. For us, the most important is which type of city we want for the next 20, 30 years. Then we put all areas, safety, mobile, mobility, energy, social areas in the same project to put our vision of the next 20, 30 years. Then we act in these different areas. When we talk about examples in Barcelona, we talk about vehicle electrical. For us, it's very important because it's not only for the industry, it's not for mobility. Mobility is industry, is pollution, is self-sufficiency, energy. We have a lot of, we need to break the different vertical silos to work together in this same concept, okay? Another example for us is crucial, the telecom networks. Is very important to interconnect all things in a city. In our vision, in the next 5-10 years, all things that we have in the city will be interconnected, each one with them, because the city will be converted in a information systems with connected all things in the city. Another example, we need to put all this information in one system to interconnect all things. Okay. Then we launch a tender to build together with the industry and a system operator system and a city operator system, because in our view, a city will be as an Android or a smartphone.
Yeah.
Then we need to separate the applications to the background in the city to build a marketplace that people and universities, academia, and companies can deploy the best services for the city.
Looking at I know you spent some time in Nairobi, Robert, so, and they're obviously doing some initiatives there. From what Josep said, the idea of trying to create some sort of platform where people can build on top of it, maybe leapfrogging some telephony technology. Is that something that could be applicable in Nairobi, for example?
Yeah, I think Nairobi's an interesting case, because, those people who know Kenya know Nairobi Kenya's made some extraordinary advances in terms of penetration of telephones, including smartphones, the engagement with social media and more broadly the internet, e-financing, e-banking, M-Pesa is the one that's often brought out. There's an extraordinary amount of innovation around crisis mapping and crowdfunding and all sorts of exciting. Now, if you step outside of Kenya and you move towards Uganda or Tanzania or Ethiopia or Somalia or Sudan or the Congo, I think you'll maybe not see the same level of energy. So I wouldn't necessarily use Nairobi as an example for all of Africa and certainly not for all of the South. But no, absolutely, there's great opportunities here to leapfrog, and I think take advantage of different kinds of systems that are available. I think that it's important, though, to look at smart cities from the top down and the bottom up. I think what we've talked about here, and I think what's often known in Europe and North America, is sort of the top-down kind of model. Large company, works with the mayor, an enlightened mayor, hopefully, and his city council or her city council, and it brings together a whole bunch of different actors, and it activates all sorts of services and creates a system that automates some of those services and anticipates problems before it reacts. In Nairobi, and also in Angola, and in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and parts of, I think, Senegal, what you're seeing is the creation of smart cities, but they tend to be small satellite cities that are often several miles, even tens of miles away from the downtown core, designed effectively as sort of hubs of innovation. They're intended to bring in and attract capital, including creative classes, in sort of the Richard Florida sense, right? To bring in smart, sharp people who can add energy and dynamism to the economy. Often there's sort of tax exemptions and subsidies that are provided to those areas, and it's creating these little satellites, and I think there's two, at least, that I know about in Nairobi, outside of Nairobi, that are being created. I think that's a sort of a top-down type model, and certainly it offers advantages when it comes to attracting capital and generating some excitement. But when it comes to actually dealing with some of the issues that we already discussed around trying to create a more participatory, equitable, less divisive, more open government structure, governance, I think we still have little evidence to show that it's going to go in the right direction. Look at Nairobi. I think something like 75% of the population lives in slums, right? They live on less than $1.50, $2 a day. This is in a relatively advanced country in East Africa. I'm not suggesting for a minute that there isn't great creativity, animation, excitement happening, but I think there might be a divergence between those satellite cities that are top-down built and what's really often going on in the slums. And there, I think Nairobi does offer some general principles when you look across Africa. And again, I'll emphasize that 90% of all future population growth in the world in the next 50 years is going to be in Africa and parts of Asia. Latin America, North America, Western Europe, they've gone through their demographic transition, and their populations are actually shrinking in some ways, or will start to shrink. Not to say that we shouldn't be investing at all in smart cities. I think there'll be an extraordinary boom in that area. But I think where we're going to see the most extraordinary population growth is going to be in those cities of the South. And I fear that often that base infrastructure that we take for granted just simply isn't necessarily there unless we built it from the ground up in a vertical way. And there I think we might be creating more divides and going against that initial impetus that drove the smart city concept to begin with.
So you're saying the idea that if you have these satellite cities outside of an area, you have high growth, good broadband access, whatever it is, in one location, but for the mass majority of people, they're still stuck in sort of on $1 a day and things like that.
That's right. There's these two cities, Tatu and Konzo. Yeah. There's the Cité de Fleuve outside of Kinshasa. There's Luanda is building, I think with support from China, a number of these satellite cities. And I was at TED a couple of weeks ago and saw this extraordinary, visionary, Chinese-style growth, city in a box. And I think that those are somehow at odds with really what's happening in many of these cities where the population growth is. They may create nodes, but ultimately it's segregated by the capabilities, education, class of those who are going to them. So what you might be creating along with the digital divide are sort of divided cities. And I fear living in a divided city myself, Rio de Janeiro, or in Sao Paulo, which is one of the largest, is the largest city in Latin America. These are cities of walls spatially. What the fear one might have is that the smart city concept reinforces that digitally.
I think that it's important that we understand that each city is different of the different cities, and the different regions in the world are need different solutions. I think that when you talk about Kinshasa or Nairobi, it's I think Barcelona is more close than Dublin than Nairobi and Kinshasa, and we understand that all cities have similar problems, but the technical solutions are different for each city. At the same time, we need to understand the cities can collaborate together to build business models that the industry can invest and can deploy solutions for all cities, not only for 1 or 2 or 3 cities. Then it's a good mix to understand that we need different solutions, but at the same time, we need to build standards to the industry can deploy wide solutions for all cities, and to do the fine-tuning in each city in the different specification or in the different model of city that we want.
So a basic question then comes down to, although obviously each city needs a different solution, if there was one takeout, both from your experience in Barcelona and in Rio, if someone came to you and asked, okay, what would be the one lesson to be taken, what would it be?
I think for us it's very important to understand that the first step is what type of city you want. You need first to think and after to put technology, okay? Second, it's we are convinced that Internet of Things it's coming. Then in the next we say that Internet changed our life. Internet changed the companies and the approach to the markets, but Internet don't change yet the cities. In the next 5-10 years, Internet change a lot. The manage and the approach the citizens to city. And it's important to understand the technology. It's beside your vision and your strategy.
And briefly, Robert, what would be the one quick takeout from your experience in Rio?
No, I think correct. This is the future. But if somebody said the future is not evenly distributed, and I think that it's true that we need to think about a graded and differentiated set of models. What's going to work in parts of Barcelona or Dublin may not apply in parts of Nairobi and Kinshasa, and that will be vastly different than what happens in Mumbai or in Patna or in Darjeeling, which will again be different than what happens in China. And I think the different models will have to be experimented with, and let's measure the outcomes. I think that's a really important part of the puzzle.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Cheers.